menghampirinya. Kau beri rasa yang berbeda, mungkin ku salah mengartikannya. Sepertinya kau rasa cinta menanti tapi hatiku. Kau beri rasa
Good afternoon, Professor. Good afternoon, Professor. We cannot hear your voice. Good afternoon, Professor.
Is that okay for you?
Yes, that's okay.
Transparencies, right?
Yes.
And I will start the talking now. I'm sorry for a little late because I have some troubles in the opening and just fix the problems. So actually, in the very beginning, I will introduce. I'm sorry, I need to change the transparencies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is.
This one. Today's topic is service-oriented engineering and an introduction, and I also talk a little bit about the architecture. Okay, and the topics cover including the introduction, especially for why it is so important in SOA, the benefits of SOA, and also the SOA architecture. And currently, there are two directions. The other is the RESTful services. And I will introduce a little bit about the RESTful services. Okay. And since there are 4 topics today, so I will introduce the the service first. You know, a web service is an instance of more general notions of service. And the name can say an act or performance offered by one party to another. Although the process may be tied to a physical product, the performance is essentially intangible and does not normally result ownership of any of the factors of production. However, the essence of a service, therefore, is that the provision of the service is independent of the application using the service. In other words, you know, the service provider will be totally different from the service consumer.
Professor,
Oh,
can I ask to start your camera?
yeah. Well, just a moment.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Well, I cannot find.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, just a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Oh. Oh, just a moment.
Sure. I think in the bottom of the screen, in the left side, there is a start camera, start video.
重开一下，因为它好像有那个字。
Mohon maaf ini para hadirin semuanya, sepertinya ada sedikit technical problem dengan Profesor Wang di Taiwan. Kita tunggu sejenak ya. Dan nantinya kita akan seminarnya ini nanti akan berjalan selama 1 jam ya, 1 jam sampai sekitar jam 2.30. Nah, ini kita masih menunggu dari Profesor Wang. Coba saya hubungi lagi. Yeah, I can see.
Do you see the camera?
Yeah.
嗯
Thank you, Baisu.
先开通这个吗？
这个。
Baisu, thanks.
那么那么好，那先分享，可能先分享。You need to permit the sharing.
Yeah, I will. Wait a moment. Yes.
这边的我认为 OK。You see the slides?
Yeah, I can see.
应该可以开始。这个关掉。这都是。
Okay, is that okay for you?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I I think I need to speak again. Yeah. I should tell you that service is a new era for software development. So for this one, we'll tell you the topics of today's. I will introduce the service first, and then tell you the benefits of SOA, and then I will introduce the service-oriented architectures. Finally, I will give one of the two major language. One is called RESTful services. And now, I'm sorry. Oh, well, services. As I mentioned previously, a web service is an instance of a more general notion of a service. And I think the foundation here is, most popularly for services. And the essence of a service is that the provision of the service is independent of the application using the services. In other words, a service provider is totally different from the service consumer. And from this point of view, service SOA, or whatever you call SO, or service-oriented application, or service-oriented software engineering, well, it's totally different from the object-oriented software engineering. And the major difference is that the service, the definition of the services is from different point of view from object-oriented applications. And you can see, for service provided by the providers. I beg your pardon?
I think there is some mistake. Professor can continue.
Oh, okay. Well, the service, I think this is a new era. So I will give you some definition first, and I would like to tell you what's the importance in service in SOA, service-oriented technologies. In object-oriented programming, each software engineer who construct the software based on the library, the object-oriented library created by him. However, for services, the consumer, the service consumer who uses the service which has been constructed by others, who are mostly called the service providers. And in the very beginning, the construction of the services from providers' point of view, they may not think of, who are the consumer. So when they construct the service, when they're constructing the service, they will consider from their point of view. And so it's totally different from consumers. And, like here, service providers can develop specialized services and offer this to a range of service users from different organizations. And this is very important. It's totally different from the object-oriented libraries. As I mentioned previously, for object-oriented methodology, each software, each service, or each classes or objects which were provided by or created by the software engineer, usually just concerned, which was concerned by the application constructed by the software engineer. Therefore, for software engineer, each software has his own libraries. And however, if you construct a software with services, and I think perhaps you never have seen
Mohon maaf para hadirin, ini ada sedikit permasalahan lagi dengan technical yang ada di sana. Kita tunggu sebentar lagi ya untuk Profesor Wang kembali lagi ke Zoom kita. Professor, your microphone still mute. I think in the button of the screen, there is a microphone.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So, did you see the transparency?
Not yet. Professor
Okay.
can share screen.
Okay, I will do it. And now, is that okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
Yes.
just a moment. I need to unify.
There is a share screen
Yeah,
in the center.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can see it.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay.
It's okay now, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. Well, according to my definitions, for web services, the service providers are different from the service consumer or service users. And since they are, the provider are users are in different organizations, so the programming are also totally different from the object-oriented techniques. As I mentioned previously, for for new program with the OO techniques, you need you might use the OO methodology to construct the software, and during the process of software development, you will find that you will extract many objects, and according to objects, you will get some methodology and some methods, and based on the object and methods, we will construct the corresponding classes. However, in service, during the application based on the services, you will find that the object is useless. Because during the running, there exists a lot of services in the world. So when you run the application, actually you send the service to remote that side to ask the service from remote providers, and after the completed the computation of service, and they will return the result, so that since you do not use the method constructed under your library, and you'll find that the object itself, it does not it's not necessary for object to contain the local attribute. And therefore, when you construct the object, actually this object do not have any sense, since the object itself do not need to contain anything locally. And from this point of view, we need to consider how to construct the software based on the service. And this kind of consideration make us, consider the different technique for the software construction or software development or constructions. And for next transparency, you will find, the services, now it's reusable, and this since services are reusable component and that are independent and loosely coupled. So we should claim a service or web service is a loosely coupled reusable software component that encapsulates discrete functionalities, which may be distributed and primarily accessed. And a web service is a service that is accessed using standard internet and XML-based protocols. And these two are very important, since we have the standard internet XML and based on XML protocols. So when you write an application, we will use, because we use the dispute application based on the standard internet and based on the XML description. So we do not need to consider, but we can treat the service as the local. The service can treat it as provided the service locally. So service, are platform and implementation language independent. In other words, no matter what kind of language you write, you can send the message through the platform to send the message to remote site and ask the service provider to work for you. And you do not, no matter what language you use, you can use such kind of fundamental techniques to help you reduce the programming and just use a very straightforward, like when you use the procedural calling, and just like when you use the legacy systems or a conventional language such as C, you can use the SOAP to send the message to the remote site. And when you use the object-oriented, perhaps you apply the remote message and to send the message to remote site, even you use the language such as Java or the rest. And we know since such kind of the techniques exist, so as I mentioned previously, object might not be necessary, might not be used for the remote services, for the programming of the remote services. So from this point of view, a lot of people now consider how, when develop software, how can we apply remote services and to construct our service, our software, to construct our application. And now, when you consider in this way, well, for remote services and your systems, I'm sorry, since all the services in the world, you can use it directly. So when you're programming, when you develop your application, and there exists a lot of services already, and you might not need to, develop some classes or some new classes or fundamental classes by yourself again. You, as a programmer, you can allow all the methods to be stored in a remote site. And as I discussed with my students, and everybody agreed that they do not like to save the library with them, but they like to store the services, the fundamental program in another side, no matter where it is. So it's totally different from now. It's totally different from the past process. So for next pages, you can see, service can be offered by any service provider inside or outside an organization. And this point of view is very important because there are a lot of services. And now when you're programming with a service, what you are concerned is, the service, the information, I mean, the attribute associated with the service for you to decide whether you like the service or not. And since for the service of the same function, well, there might exist more than one services. So one service or one service operations. So from your status, the programming, when you try to programming based on the service, you will find it's more important to decide the service you want or the service suitable for you. So your programming, like here, your programming is maybe the most important fact is to try to integrate the service provided from different providers. And the service provider make information about the service public, so that any authorized user can use the service. You may have a question why service provider like to provide services. I think in these years we will find that there are a lot of web service provided in the network. And for service provider, they provided the service. Why they do it this way? For service application, the provider, what they concern most is the member. For the members, if the more the member, the provider, the value of the provider is more. Like if you have 1 million providers or 2 million providers, and the provider themselves can be more valuable. For example, like can own like 1 million US dollars. So from this point of view, they like to provide more and more services in order to introduce to invite more and more members implicitly. So on the other hand, applications can delay the binding of service until they are deployed or until execution. So at this, since a provider may, the service provider provided by the provider, they may allow more requests to ask the service to do the job. So for service provider, they need concern how to make the service more to allow more and more consumers to request them and to have a better execution for the services. So this means that the application can be reactive and adapt their operation to cope with the changes to their execution environment. For example, like in order to allow more and more requests, the provider need to concern some techniques to make the service run in a more open way, or to allow the request to have more time to execution for the execution. And for a service-oriented approach, their benefits, including the opportunistic construction of new services, is possible. A service provider may recognize new services that can be created by linking existing services in innovative ways, and service users can pay for services according to their use rather than their provision. Instead of buying a really used component, the application developers can use an external service that will be paid for only when required. So, well, as I mentioned previously, there are at least two ways to make money. One is from advertisement. I mean, from the number of the member. The second is, when users, participate, your organization, they will be charged. They will be charged for the request. There are many ways to charge. For example, like charge by time or charge per time or whatever. It depends. Charge by number of steps per time or charge per time or the running time each time. Okay, and application can be made smaller, which is particularly important for mobile service, for mobile devices with the limited processing and memory capabilities, and computationally intensive processing can be offloaded to external services. And I think for the next page, you'll find I will give an example to show you, what is the service when you write an application, what the application can be done. Here is an example. In car information systems, such systems provide drivers with information on weather, road traffic conditions, and local information and the rest. And this link to car audio systems so that information is delivered as a signal on a specific channel. I'm sorry. The car is equipped with a GPS receiver to discover its positions. And based on that position, the system accesses a range of information services. Since car moves when the car drivers want, so the GPS will be changed and when car is moving. So we might use the GPS information to get the corresponding application service, and for the driver to listen to the corresponding information, such as road traffic or weather information or local information, such as music or whatever. Okay, and according to the requirements here, I will show you the example just like in page 8. You see, based on the example, you will find there are several web service stations. Like here, we have a weather information station, facility information station, and road traffic information stations. You will find that in public, there exists a lot of the service stations, and according to the GPS, the user based on the user will send the request to through the user interface and to ask the service, and after the transmitter received the request. I mean the center inside the car. The transmitter is the center inside the car. When it receives the request, it will send the information to the mobile information service, and also it send the information to service discovery. And since the service inside the discovery find the available services, it will send a message to with the mobile information and the available service, and it will in this the kind of message will send the corresponding request to with the GPS to weather information and facility information and traffic information, and ask them to return the value the value to the mobile information information service. And in this one, when it receives the collect all the information, then it will pass the information according to corresponding language, pass to the translators. And after translator receive the message, it will translate and send the message to the receiver. Okay, of course, inside the receiver, after it receives the information, it will translate the information to the radio, so that the user, the car driver can get the weather information facility or local music, whatever. And from this graph, you can see that actually when car is moving, it will change the GPS. So because for there exist many servers, like many facility servers, weather information servers. I think this is area by area. So when car is driving, it will the service in different places. Their service discovery will when the car running into different area, and those the corresponding local area discovery station, and when you receive the message, it was try to help find the available services, and so that the transmitting the information the mobile innovation service will get the corresponding service provider, so that the mobile innovation system can send the request to the corresponding weather station or facility station and the traffic and innovation center. So according to this graph, I mean, you can see for applications like mobile applications, since we have a lot of the web service, the service side, similar service side. So when cars move, when car moves, and when you drive a car, it will change from the service station to different service station. It doesn't matter, and you will find that just like when you drive the car, and you will receive the usually continuously or weather information continuously. And the program is so simple that here, such kind of application, they can run the application, that can run and just run the application and let the consumer feel there's no, of course, for example, like they will know that the service will be performed continuously. And well, that's the application written by software engineer. And you will find that this just like a distributed systems, and you combine all the service by this system in order to let the consumer feel that the service provided are continuous. There's no interrupt in any way. And from this point of view, from this graph, you can see, the system is done continuously, and the major program will be run movable, so that just like portable services is allowed, and the program is so simple, and this kind of applications can be written quickly and well, can be completed in a short time. And you can see, based on the example here, you can write a lot of applications. And of course, when you write such kind of application, you will depend on your requirement. And from this point of view, when you write a program, you will consider based on the existing services. And this, I think this is totally different from our conventional object-oriented or workflow or whatever. However, or agile. I mean, in the past 30 years, we know that in the past, the programming systems or programming technology was developed. There are actually there are three fundamental methodologies. One is called from the workflow structured programming, and the second is called object-oriented, and the third is called agile. And now it's time to start another methodology we call service-oriented methodologies. And from this point of view, I think Fermin is familiar with this one, and I hope he can help you to construct and to introduce the methodology in your universities. And now let's consider another one. For the advantage of SOA, it's not necessary to decide when the system is programmed or deployed, because as long as the service provided, and you don't need to concern the details of the service. Instead, you just deploy the service. So you don't need concern about who programming the service. What you need is to identify the service and send a request to the service provider and ask them to compute the service, the corresponding operations, and reply you the result. So when you programming, the existing service, just like the execution component, and you don't need to know the details. It's not necessary. So you will save a lot of time. Just like the car, when car moves around, then the in-car software use the service discovery service to find the most appropriate information service and bind to that. Because of the use of the translation service, it can move across borders, and therefore make local information available to people who don't speak the local language. When you move border by border, you'll find you'll get from different border, you'll get different applications. Different, as you said, the same service, but provided by different providers, and therefore, if inside different border or inside different areas, like the in-car service, you don't need to concern about the language provided locally, because as long as you can use the same service request, and you can ask the provider, since no matter which thing they use, well, they just based on the standard form and reply the corresponding service even in different languages. So the next, service-oriented software engineering, a significant development as object-oriented development. As I mentioned previously, the service-oriented software is a new era, and building applications based on service allow companies and other organizations to cooperate and make use of each other's business functions. And service-based applications may be constructed by linking the service from various providers. I think from a previous example, you will find, you try to, use the service provider, by different providers, the area by area. So like here, that is the example, your provider, you will get the service, the same service, but different provider area by area. So therefore, the service-based application may be constructed by linking service from various providers using either a standard programming language or a specialized workflow language. And here, I think based on the services now it's time to reuse the workflow language, the workflows, because the service, since like the service operations, what you need is to combine those operations and to derive the new applications. And I think for when you develop an application and you will use the operation provided by the service or provided by the corresponding provider. So now the consideration, as I mentioned previously, you don't need to concern about the object. You don't need to concern about the agile, the story inside in the applications. Instead, what you need is try to combine those functions provided by the different provider and to construct a new applications. And I think the fundamental technique is the workflow, because in the past we know that we can combine the work of the functions or the application together by using the sequence selection, the loop and periodization, and to get a better applications. Therefore, for service-oriented architecture, I should say, the architecture is a means of developing distributed systems where the components are standalone services. So a service may execute on different computers from different service providers. And standard protocols has been developed to support the service communication and information exchange. So from this point of view, I think you can know, this is the fundamental architecture you're supposed to use. For service request, when you write, since there exists a lot of the service providers and they provide a lot of services, even the same function inside different services. So for the service request, what you're going to do is to find the service and the function you like most. And then after you get the service, their address, you will bind the service by using the SOAP or REST and to send the request to the service provider. And if you are the service provider, actually, after you completed the development of the service, and you will publish your service to the service registry. I think there are a lot of service registry. So for the service provider, when he complete his service application, and he will with WSDL, then it will send, publish the service to the service registry. And if it's accepted by the registry and the service delivered by him will have the address and will have another document which indicate the characteristic of the service he provides. And from the users, the requesters, what he wants is to find the service inside the registries, and according to the document provided by the provider, and the user requester will find the best services. So there are some techniques to be studied in order to find the best services. And here I think we have a lot of study. Like we have currently constructed project. We are developing a new project to find a better way, to get the service. And we also consider, since we have a lot of service constructed now, there are a set of technology need to be concerned. For example, like the reliability or like the testing and the design technique. There are a lot of work to be done. And the benefit of SOA, service can be provided locally or outsourced to external providers. So services are language independent. As I mentioned previously, there is a should be there's a platform so that you can send a request to the platform, and usually we know by using the XML we can send a request through XML to the service provider and wait until the result they compute, and we will have the corresponding data. And since there exists a lot of computation and data, for the request that we can doing the rest of computation and to organize the corresponding work, and in order to get a better result. And therefore, investment in legacy systems can be preserved because according to the service you are going the provider. If you are the provider, if you have some corresponding work at your site, then you might reconsider the application again. Since after you divide after you completed the work, I mean the software, you might consider the software can be treated as garbage or whatever. But now there's another consideration that since the service the application exists, you might reorganize the systems as a set of services. And according to the service you construct, you might, if the service is, has been tested and has been run for a long while, and perhaps you can now, reorganize the applications into, several services, so that you can allow more people or more sites to employ or request the running of your service. So this is different from our past experience. I think in the past we will discard the software, and nowadays we know since we can rearrange the systems, by dividing the system into several services, and we can by using a platform to put to employ the services. And so we might use the constructed external component which can like a different representation, so that it can when it received the request from remote side, and the component or the interface can help us to send the message to the corresponding component to run it. So I think at the current stage, we know we can allow the existing systems to run, and it will be meaningful that the existing system can provide more service, and they are not be treated as garbage. Instead, they provide the services. So I think it's more valuable, and we can be concerned, reconsider the system, and this is a new investment, and it will be helpful for the company. And the third is interorganizational computing. From this point of view, we know the provider will provide several services or a lot of services, and for the request, we can just send a request to ask the communication. The computation, and get the result. So interorganized computation is facilitated through simplified information exchange. So such kind of work can let the service and
Professor, I think 5 minutes more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. I think I will give a short end here, and
Oh,
perhaps
sure,
in
sure,
the
sure.
future I will give a talk. But now I just tell you that when you communicate with other side, what we need is SOAP, and the key standard is SOAP. And when we define the service, we might use the web service definition language. And also the service we call web service depots. It's a standard workflow language used to define service composition. And well, based on these standards, you can easily, you can easily help reorganize your applications, your existing programs, and provide the service to others. And this one will, this approach, as I mentioned, is a new directions for software. And that's why, existing software, there are a lot of the discussion or in a lot of conference try to make values from the services. And I think, Homi, I will stop here. Is that okay? Or
Yeah,
any
I think
questions
okay.
for others?
Yeah, I will let other people, maybe they have a question.
Yeah. Do you have any question? I'm sorry. Well, it just look from another side, so I'm sorry I do not, discuss with you. Could you, do you have any question? Perhaps I
Yeah.
can.
Okay, I will
have
ask
a
to the
discussion.
participant whether the participant have question or not. Maybe I will use my own language to discuss with them.
I think that you are familiar with this area, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, never mind. So, I will discuss with the participant using my own language whether they have the question or not. So I will translate to English to Professor.
Okay. Anyway,
Baik, para peserta, kalau ada pertanyaan silakan. Kalau misalkan tidak bisa menggunakan bahasa Inggris, nanti bisa saya translatekan ya. Saya tanyakan ke Profesor Wang. Kalau mau ada pertanyaan silakan ini ya, apa namanya, angkat tangan ya, menggunakan fitur angkat tangan. Jadi Profesor Wang tadi berbicara tentang suatu struktur software yang baru, di mana nantinya itu bisa diaplikasikan ke aplikasi yang berbasis informasi atau perpustakaan. Silakan yang ingin bertanya. Silahkan Mbak Niken.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Wang. I want to ask you what the difference between SOA and microservice. Different between SOA and microservice. Thank you.
Okay, Professor. I think there is a question about what is the difference about the SOA and microservice. I think Professor can SOA and microservice.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, I think microservice is a way to construct, the service applications. And SOA is a general word. There are several meanings for SOA, like service-oriented applications or service-oriented architecture. And I think the big difference is, for service SOA is, it's a software-oriented, service-oriented architecture or service-oriented application. It will be constructed from several methods, and SOA is one of the methods. I'm sorry. Microservice is one of the way to construct the service applications.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Wang.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is another question, Professor, from Rafli. Do you want to ask Professor directly or using Indonesian language?
Sebelumnya apakah suara saya sudah terdengar?
Ya sudah.
Oke, tentang ini apa? Apakah ada suatu strategi khusus yang dilakukan oleh para penyedia layanan itu untuk dalam pengembangan layanannya? So, is there a special strategy undertaken by service providers in developing their services?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I think I do not really understand your meanings. And however, from my point of view, for service, I think it is, as I mentioned previously, it is totally different from conventional techniques. And if you like a service or you don't like service, it doesn't matter. However, it's now the era of service, and you will find that since there are a lot of services, and for new programming, what you need to do is try to find the service best for you, and you might use the language like OO to do the job. If you are familiar with OO, and you might use the OO language to write your program. But when you are running your application, you will find that the OO you write will be useless. So it depends. Perhaps you can write all the program by yourself. Perhaps you are familiar, you like to use the service. Well, it depends on you. Well, for me,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think the question is like how the service provider get more customer. Yes, I think.
Well, I think from the provider, as I mentioned previously, for service provider, they get the income from the advertisement, or get they will charge the money from the requester, or from the consumer. And how when they construct the software, they will consider from their viewpoint to see whether membership is better, or the request can pay more. And I think that depends on the service provider.
Oke, thank you, Professor. Apakah jawabannya sudah cukup untuk Mas Rafli?
Ya, Mas, sedikit banyak sudah menjawab. Terima kasih, Mas.
Terima
Thank you.
kasih. Okay, thank you, Professor. I think your answer is accepted by them. So, is there any other question? Okay, if there is no other question, we still have one more lecture or one more speech in next Wednesday, also with Professor Wang. And next Wednesday, we will discuss about more technical, how to identify and analyze the service. Okay, thank you, Professor Wang, and good afternoon, and see you later in Wednesday.
Okay, and thank you.
Thank
and
you.
nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Yeah.